Today, we need to talk about something that has once again put Love and Marriage Huntsville back in the headlines. And this situation involves two names that always seem to bring intense reactions, strong opinions, and constant online debate: Martell Holt and Shari. Now, if you have been following this story for any length of time, then you already know that whenever these two individuals are mentioned in the same sentence, controversy is never far behind. And recently, a blog post began circulating online that claimed there were new developments regarding child support and a possible restraining order involving Shari and Martell Holt. As soon as this information started making its rounds across social media, fans immediately began reacting. Some people were confused, some people were angry, and others were questioning whether the information being shared was actually factual. Because one thing we have learned when it comes to reality television personalities is that blogs and social media pages are often more focused on engagement than they are on accuracy. And unfortunately, this situation appears to be another example of how misinformation can spread quickly when people do not take the time to verify the facts. According to the post that started gaining traction online, a statement was allegedly attributed to Shari. The post claimed that Melody made it clear that she did not need a storyline or Martell for clout. It also suggested that she left Love and Marriage Huntsville on her own terms, and that she is a self-made millionaire who has built her success independently. Now, that part of the statement is consistent with what we have seen from Melody over the past several years. Since her separation from Martell, Melody has continued to expand her brand, build her businesses, and establish herself as an entrepreneur outside of reality television. However, the post continued by making much more serious claims. The blog alleged that Martell had been harassing Melody for a long time, even when cameras were not filming. It also claimed that Melody had filed a restraining order against him and suggested that child support was involved in their current custody situation. And as soon as those claims appeared online, reactions began pouring in from supporters, critics, and curious viewers who wanted to know whether the information was accurate. Now, what makes this situation particularly interesting is that both Martell Holt and Shari responded to the post directly. Martell reportedly entered the comment section to defend himself against the claims, stating that there is no child support involved and that he actively supports all of his children. He also indicated that he currently has his children and considers himself to be a present and involved father. And of course, this response immediately triggered even more debate, because the question of what defines a present parent is something that many viewers have strong opinions about. From a psychological standpoint, the term present parent is often interpreted differently depending on personal values and expectations. Some people define presence as emotional availability, consistency, and stability. Others define presence as physical time spent with children. But when evaluating co-parenting dynamics, especially in high-conflict situations, the perception of parental involvement can vary significantly between the individuals involved. For years, viewers of Love and Marriage Huntsville have witnessed the breakdown of Martell and Melody's marriage and the ongoing tension that followed their separation. Their relationship has played out publicly, and many fans feel emotionally invested in the outcome. Because of that emotional investment, narratives often form quickly online, sometimes before verified facts are available. According to available information, Melody currently maintains primary physical custody of the children. While Martell does spend time with the children, the previous week-on, week-off custody arrangement is no longer in place. That change alone represents a significant shift in family structure. Family restructuring following divorce often creates new emotional challenges for both parents and children. Research in family psychology indicates that transitions from shared custody schedules to primary custody arrangements can impact routines, stability, and communication dynamics. And when the parents involved are public figures, those changes are not only happening privately, but are also being analyzed publicly by audiences who may not have access to complete or verified information. Another important factor in this situation is the way blogs and social media accounts frame their narratives. When headlines include emotionally charged language such as harassment, restraining orders, or child support disputes, those words naturally capture attention. However, without supporting documentation, such claims can contribute to misinformation cycles that influence public perception. Melody Shari also addressed the blog post, noting that while she appreciates the support from her fans, there were inaccuracies included in the report. She encouraged individuals who want factual information to seek verified sources, rather than relying solely on social media commentary. And that response highlights an important reality about celebrity culture. Public figures often find themselves needing to correct narratives that spread quickly online, especially when those narratives involve legal matters or family dynamics. From an investigative standpoint, the most critical takeaway here is that no confirmed documentation has surfaced indicating that a restraining order has been filed recently, nor has there been confirmation that child support arrangements have changed from previously reported agreements. Yet despite the lack of confirmed documentation, the story gained traction quickly. Why? Because stories involving conflict tend to perform well online. Algorithms prioritize engagement, and engagement often increases when audiences feel emotionally triggered by a headline. And when audiences already have established opinions about individuals involved in a story, confirmation bias can influence how new information is interpreted. Supporters of Melody may be more inclined to believe negative claims about Martell. Supporters of Martell may be more inclined to question narratives that portray him negatively. But the truth often exists in a more complex space than social media posts allow. One of the ongoing themes in this situation is the perception that Martell continues to respond publicly to criticism or allegations made about him online. Public responses can sometimes amplify controversy rather than resolve it, particularly when the responses occur in comment sections where context can easily be lost. Strategically, many public relations professionals advise public figures to address sensitive topics through structured statements rather than reactive comment responses. Because when responses occur spontaneously, tone and wording can influence how the public interprets intent. Another layer to consider is the long-term reputational impact of repeated public disputes. In media psychology, repeated exposure to negative narratives can shape audience perception, even when individual claims are later disproven. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as the availability heuristic, where individuals assess credibility based on how easily examples come to mind. If audiences repeatedly see headlines associating a public figure with controversy, those associations can become cognitively reinforced over time. For Melody Shari, her brand identity has increasingly centered on independence, entrepreneurship, and personal growth following her divorce. Her business ventures, including beauty products and educational courses, have allowed her to diversify her income streams and establish financial independence outside of the show. Financial independence narratives often resonate strongly with audiences, particularly when framed as empowerment following adversity. Meanwhile, Martell Holt's public journey has included professional transitions, personal controversies, and attempts to reposition his public image. He has continued to appear on LAMH, Huntsville, and recent developments suggest that he has completed requirements related to his builder's license. Professional achievements can contribute to reputation rebuilding, but public perception often evolves gradually rather than immediately. One of the most significant factors influencing public opinion is consistency. Audiences tend to evaluate credibility based on whether actions align with statements over time. When inconsistencies appear, audiences may question authenticity. When consistency appears, audiences may attribute trustworthiness. In this situation, both individuals continue to navigate co-parenting responsibilities while maintaining public careers. Co-parenting in high-conflict environments requires structured communication, boundary setting, and emotional regulation. And when legal systems become involved in custody decisions, documentation becomes critical. Which brings us back to the central issue in this story. The blog post that triggered this conversation appears to have included claims that cannot currently be verified through publicly available documentation. That does not necessarily mean conflict does not exist. It means the specific claims regarding restraining orders and child support changes should be treated cautiously until verified evidence is presented. As viewers and commentators, there is value in distinguishing between confirmed information and speculative narratives. Because once misinformation spreads, corrections often receive less visibility than the original claims, and that dynamic can influence reputations long-term. Melody's decision to direct individuals toward her Patreon platform for detailed explanations reflects a broader trend among public figures who choose to communicate directly with their audiences, rather than relying solely on third-party media outlets. Direct-to-audience communication allows individuals to present context that may not fit within short-form social media posts. However, audiences must also evaluate information critically, regardless of source. Critical thinking remains essential when consuming celebrity news. Another interesting aspect of this situation is how fans interpret parental roles within public relationships. Online communities often project personal values onto public figures, particularly when children are involved. Discussions about what defines a good parent often become emotionally charged because parenting standards are deeply personal. Some viewers believe that consistent physical presence is essential. Others believe emotional support and financial provision are equally significant indicators. But, ultimately, parenting evaluations made by audiences are based on limited information. The individuals directly involved have access to far more context than the public, and that reality should encourage measured interpretation rather than definitive conclusions. As this story continues to circulate, it serves as another example of how quickly narratives can evolve in digital environments. One post can lead to hundreds of reactions. Hundreds of reactions can lead to additional commentary videos. Additional commentary videos can reinforce narratives regardless of whether the initial information was verified. This cycle demonstrates how media ecosystems function in the age of social platforms. Attention drives amplification. Amplification drives perception. Perception influences reputation, and reputation influences future opportunities. Marriage, Huntsville. The ongoing tension between Martell Holt and Melody Shari remains one of the most discussed storylines associated with the show. Their relationship history has created a narrative arc that audiences continue to follow even beyond televised episodes. And while the show itself provides edited glimpses into their interactions, real-life developments often occur outside of production timelines, which means audiences frequently rely on social media updates, interviews, and blog posts to stay informed. But staying informed also requires discernment, because not all sources prioritize accuracy equally. As of now, the most substantiated information indicates that Melody maintains primary physical custody of the children, while Martell maintains visitation rights according to structured scheduling. Claims regarding new child support arrangements or restraining orders have not been supported by publicly available documentation. Therefore, those claims should be categorized as unverified at this time. That distinction matters, because reputational harm can occur when allegations are presented as confirmed facts without supporting evidence. For public figures, repeated exposure to unverified allegations can influence brand partnerships, audience trust, and professional opportunities. For audiences, repeated exposure to misinformation can distort understanding of complex situations, which is why investigative commentary emphasizes verification, facts supported by documentation, statements supported by evidence, claims supported by credible sourcing. Without those elements, narratives remain speculative. As this situation continues developing, additional information may emerge. Legal documentation, official statements, or verified reports may provide further clarity. Until then, the most responsible analytical position is to distinguish between confirmed facts and circulating claims, and that distinction allows audiences to engage thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. If future developments occur, the analysis may evolve accordingly. But for now, the available evidence suggests that the viral claims regarding new child support requirements and restraining orders should be approached with caution, because accuracy remains essential when discussing real families, real children, and real legal dynamics.